All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute classic piece of financial research, Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko's 1996 book, The Millionaire Next Door. Now, this isn't just your average finance book. It's the result of years of incredibly dedicated research into what true, sustainable wealth actually looks like. And spoiler alert, the reality is rooted in some serious discipline, which is a far cry from what pop culture leads us to believe. Let's dig right into the data together and completely reshape how we think about getting rich.
Let's be honest for a second. When you hear the word millionaire, what instantly pops into your head? Do you picture someone cruising around in a flashy, brand new sports car? Somebody dripping in designer labels, eating out at the most exclusive restaurants, just living this loud, glamorous lifestyle? Well, the data we're looking at today reveals that true millionaires don't look like that. They definitely don't dress like that, and they certainly don't spend like that. In fact, if you walked past one on the street today, you probably wouldn't even know it.
Okay, let's quickly lay out our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the real millionaire, the math of true wealth, the flashy car myth, the family wealth trap, and finally, the actual paths to becoming rich. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The real millionaire. Who are they, really?
So the authors of this research spent years literally hunting down this specific demographic. They completely ignored the distractions of Hollywood fame and focused purely on the raw numbers. The baseline definition of wealth they used is a household with a net worth of at least $1 million, which, by the way, translates to roughly 7 to 8 crore rupees. What's absolutely fascinating here is that 98% of the people in this wealthy category have a net worth sitting right between $1 and $10 million. The researchers deliberately focused on this specific group because this is a level of wealth that is entirely achievable for ordinary folks. We aren't talking about billionaire playboy status here. We're talking about sustainable, deeply grounded wealth.
Now get this. Only about 3.5% of households actually hit this millionaire mark. That sounds super exclusive, right? But here is the absolutely empowering takeaway. This level of wealth can totally be achieved in a single generation. These aren't people who just inherited massive castles. These are literally the millionaires living right next door to you, the ones who built it from the ground up during their own working lives.
To understand this, there's a massive mindset shift we have to make. Think about the high-income consumer. This is someone who might pull in a huge six-figure salary, but they live entirely on debt. They are spending tomorrow's money today just to look wealthy. They buy all those luxury items because they think, hey, that's what rich people do. But ironically, buying those things is exactly what destroys their wealth. Now contrast that with the high net worth frugal individual. This is your true millionaire. They look totally average, but behind the scenes, they strictly control their expenses, live on a budget, and actually build lasting wealth.
Moving right along to Section 2, the math of true wealth. Let's see how they actually manage the money. Okay, prepare to have your mind blown a little bit. 7%. Surveys revealed that most of these millionaires live on less than 7% of their total wealth every single year. Think about the incredible, laser-focused discipline that requires. By keeping their consumption that low, they unlock a massive financial advantage. They keep their taxable income extremely low. High-income consumers are constantly jacking up their taxable income to fund those lavish lifestyles. But true millionaires, they realize that to build wealth, you have to minimize what gets taxed and maximize what gets invested. And to pull that off, they follow a golden baseline rule, 15%. If you want to build actual wealth, you've got to carve out at least 15% of your income strictly for investments. The wealthy are exceptionally efficient at planning and allocating their resources. If you simply don't have the discipline to set aside that 15% before you spend on anything else, you just aren't going to generate the momentum needed to reach that millionaire baseline. It's really that simple. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I magically find that 15%? Well, it's not magic. It comes down to 3 steps. First, track every single expense. Second, create a strict budget. And third, control your money. The source material makes this painfully clear. If you don't know exactly what you're spending on basic, everyday stuff, like petrol and your household bills, gaining control over your wealth is basically impossible. Millionaires budget meticulously. Knowledge is power, right? Knowing where every single dollar goes is the absolute foundational step to becoming financially secure. All right, Section 3, the flashy car myth. Let's talk about status symbols. Pretty much everything we assume about rich people and their cars is totally backward. Look at this data. Over a 4-year period, only 25% of millionaires actually bought a brand new car. Another 25% didn't buy a car at all during that time. And the biggest chunk, 50%, either leased or bought a standard secondhand car. True millionaires are incredibly practical. They know that a car is a depreciating asset. They'd much rather have a reliable vehicle that gets them from point A to point B without draining their investment portfolios just to impress the neighbors at a red light in a leased sports car.
Which leads us to Section 4, the family wealth trap. This is all about generational wealth and where it goes wrong. The researchers came up with this brilliant but honestly kind of tragic term, economic outpatient care, or EOC. Basically, this is financial support given by wealthy parents to their adult children. And the terrible irony here is that these parents genuinely think they're helping by handing over money, buying expensive gifts, or funding their kids' grand lifestyles. But the data proves this actually turns the children into highly dependent, high-volume consumers. They end up as underachievers who spend way more than they earn, they invest far less than their peers, and they just rely on their parents' wealth instead of building their own independence. Let's face it, it's way easier to spend someone else's money than it is to earn it yourself.
So how do you avoid this trap? The research lays out some absolutely crucial rules for parents. First, hide your wealth. Seriously, don't let your kids know how rich you are until they're mature, established professionals. Second, teach strict financial discipline early on. Third, never ever use cash as a negotiating tool or a way to control your adult kids. Fourth, keep the kids completely out of adult financial matters and family inheritances. And finally, teach them that true value in life goes way, way beyond money. You've got to reward personal achievement and independence, not just hand them cash.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Paths to Becoming Rich. Let's look at some high-growth careers. So, what exactly do these millionaires do for a living? The research highlights a few key high-growth professions. We're talking medical and dental specialists, people running educational institutes, professional services, housing specialists, and, of course, entrepreneurs. Notice a trend here? They are all professions that provide essential ongoing services that other wealthy people constantly need. Look, there's no single magic formula for accumulating wealth, but being self-employed or being a highly specialized professional who services affluent clients, that is a proven path.
But hold on. Before you rush out to quit your job and start a business, consider this reality check. Only 1 in 5 business owners is actually considered wealthy. Just owning a business doesn't magically guarantee you $1 million. To actually succeed, a business owner needs deep-rooted motivation and a genuine love for what they do. They have to take intense pride in building it from scratch. Actually, this is exactly why handing a successful business over to a child on a silver platter fails so often. Without that fierce personal drive and the grit of creating it themselves, the next generation just can't sustain the success.
So the real takeaway here, true wealth is invisible. It's not the flashy cars, it's not the designer jackets, and it is definitely not the crippling debt used to buy them. True wealth is found in the quiet discipline, the meticulous tracking of expenses, and those steady 15% investments. I'm going to leave you with a question to really challenge your own daily habits. Are you spending tomorrow's money today just to look rich to your neighbors? Or are you saving and investing today's money so you can actually be rich tomorrow? Think about it. The choice is completely yours.